Now to our next guest. This fall marks 30 years since her testimony before lawmakers on Capitol Hill really electrified this country. Anita Hill testifying then against Supreme Court Justice nominee Clarence Thomas on allegations of sexual harassment. That experience led Hill to turn to a life of activism in her work as a professor and author.
And her latest book is called Believing, Our 30-Year Journey to End Gender Violence. Professor Hill, thank you so much for being with us here on GMA3. We are honored to have you here. And, the title of the book, Believing, you say it's not what most people might think. It's not about believing all women. What is it that we should be believing?
Well, it is about believing in the value of women. But it's also about believing that we deserve to be safe, we deserve the protections of the law, and that we deserve to have the opportunity to be heard when we have complaints, when we've been abused, when we've been violated. But it's also about my personal belief that we can make change, that we can reduce the amount of violence that is women experience, and that we have to do it as opposed to passing it on from generation to generation.
Professor Hill, I was struck by something you said to our Robin Roberts when you said you can't necessarily give the advice to people in the workplace, to women in particular, always to come forward, always to speak up. But you said they have to first oftentimes just understand the process that you're stepping into first. Can you elaborate on that a little bit to where if there's someone out there who does want to be heard, who does have a complaint, you don't always say, yes, go in and tell somebody about your experience?
Yes, well, in addition to the hearing, what has sparked me to continue to work in this area is the thousands of people that I've heard from over the past 30 years. People who have gone or stepped up and complained into systems and found that those systems weren't in place to help them. And so what I say to people is, understand what the risks are of complaining and understand what your alternatives are. Many times, what I hear from folks is that, yes, I complained and I was retaliated against. My claim was dismissed without an investigation. And in other instances, an investigation was held, but nobody was held accountable. And so with those excuses that are out there, with those kinds of failures of our systems that are out there, I can't in good faith tell everyone to take that risk of perhaps losing their jobs, losing their livelihoods, to be able to step forward.
Professor Hill, you write, and I know you've been asked about this probably plenty, about President Biden, now President Biden, who candidate Biden called and apologized. And that was certainly late, but it also seemed, upon reading in your description, it seemed too little. Do you now feel he gets it, or does he still not get it? Or is it a matter of you're just not happy with him not taking enough responsibility and action with the office and the power he now has to do something about gender violence?
Well, I think he viewed my experience as a personal experience alone. And the hurt that I experienced was extreme. It was, included threats to me, threats to my job, threats to my family and friends. But I don't think that he understood the harm that hearing caused to the entire nation, but in particular, survivors and victims who had gone through similar experiences on their own, whether in the private sector. For example, I had very shortly after the hearing an individual who was an incest survivor who contacted me by phone and said that the hearing had reminded him of exactly his experience when he tried to tell his family that he was being abused by another family member. And they completely dismissed it and denied that it was even happening to him, and that how hurtful that was. But so all of the American public viewing that hearing in 1991 was impacted by it, and some in an extremely negative way. What I want from the president, now President Biden, is an accounting for that. And I want him to use his resources and position to really acknowledge not only sexual harassment and assault, but intimate partner violence, bullying, cyberbullying of children. 34% of middle school children have been cyberbullied. And we know how vicious that can be and can lead to suicide ideation among that age group. I want him to take account of the whole of gender violence and respond at the presidential level.
Your courage in speaking up and for people who have been in your exact situation, who are probably still experiencing it today. We are grateful for you and for this book. Professor Anita Hill, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.